Hello, everyone, and good morning. Welcome to our live feed update for Big Brother 25. What a, I don't even know. Is that what I normally say? I'm a little lost today.
You say the day first usually.
Do I? I think I say that later, don't I? I don't know. No, I say the date. August 26th is
It's
what the
day
day
something
is
in the house.
today. It's a little tough to know what the day is because I was up last night and it felt like the morning because I slept during the day, and now here I am in a morning at some point. The date is just lost to me.
What day is it? 23? I don't know. 23, 24?
Well, we are here to talk about everything that happened yesterday on the Big Brother 25 live feeds. It was day 24 in the house, really a continuation of day 23 and the pressure cooker competition. But you've heard her with me to talk about it all. It's Chantele. How you doing, Chantele?
I'm tired, but I can't say that I'm tired around you because you are doing the Lord's work here. These people don't know how to sleep. Even after they do the pressure cooker, they're like, you know what? We're just going to stay up all day. And it's like, what? We just need a couple hours to catch up. But nope, these guys just want us to be tired. Tired. But I love them.
Yes, they ran the pressure cooker. They basically tied. It was almost the exact amount of time as the previous pressure cooker, and then just kept going because there's so much that's still happening through the day that we need to talk about. This is continuing to be, I think, the most dynamic house we've seen in 4 weeks probably ever. And maybe that will slow down soon, but oh
I
boy.
don't think so. Not while Cirie, Izzy, and Felicia are in the house because they will talk through everything ad nauseum.
Yeah. Yeah. There's also some people have been there's this idea that the pressure cooker in season 6, there's this conflicting information that it may have lasted like 14 and a half hours. Not the case. It definitely it was 13 hours 53-ish minutes. Hard to confirm the 53 minutes because if you go back to the episode, there was a commercial break between when they started the comp and then when they ended the episode. And we don't know obviously how long that commercial break was, but at the time they were saying it was 53 minutes. I'm trying here. But like at the end of the day, only production knows how long each competition was between live feed delays and what was like when the comp actually started. So we'd have to rely on them for that. But
I have to say, what's hilarious is that pressure cooker in the food column on Twitter was trending.
that's funny.
It's very funny.
So let's talk about it. Obviously, the last update, by the way, obviously didn't have the pressure cooker results there. If you missed our pressure cooker recap
You guys
party,
are so cute.
you should check that out as well. It's kind of like an addendum to the live feed update where we just had a bunch of people hop on and talk about our experience with the pressure cooker. Taylor joined, Claire was there, Kevin stopped by for a moment, Kevin Jacobs, as well as a bunch of other fun guests. So you should check that out if you want more detailed pressure cooker recap. But there was other information in yesterday's update that was pretty important to the events of today, primarily what was going on with Corey being sort of thrown under the bus inside the house while the pressure cooker was running. So definitely check the update out from yesterday if you did not. But that's kind of where we need to start. The pressure cooker ends with Cam winning the pressure cooker. He did make a deal with America, who he promised he would not nominate her. Also promised he would not nominate Mimi. And in the deal, America also asked for Matt and Corey to be safe, which he was perfectly fine with because he's not interested in targeting either of those people anyway. So America did take her hand off. She threw the comp at the end to Cam. And so Cam ends up winning. And right away, there's some intrigue because all that stuff we talked about with the people inside freaking out constantly, Izzy ratting out Corey and Corey getting into trouble, and they're really not wanting Cam to win. Well, by the time Red came in the house, it became pretty obvious that Izzy was like freaking out and she was very unhappy with a Cam win. And Red immediately lets Cam know about this, who is already feeling a little skeptical of the whole Izzy Cirie thing. And now he's starting to think about Izzy as, he's HOH and what he might be able to do about that.
Well, it's what's really interesting about that is like she knows better than to show like those type of feelings to someone that just went ahead of household. Like you can't be like, oh man, like that sucks that this person won. Like you had to be excited. You had to make it seem like you're good with these people. I mean, I know that she hasn't liked Cam for since the beginning of the season, but like pretend a little bit, at least before noms. Like I just, it's wild to me that she's not playing the game here with Cam at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're so in their own heads that they just, they can't help themselves. But being in their own heads is gonna continue to happen. They are panicking. Cirie is concerned. She's like, "Listen, Jared, if we end up on the block together this week, I will sacrifice my game to help you stay. Like I've done this
She shouldn't do
before.
that though. If they want to
Jared, I
win.
want you to have your experience." Meanwhile, Jared's experience is mom does all the work while I go hook up with my friend.
Yeah, right. She's like protecting him, and he's just like having a good old time. He has no idea the amount of work that she's putting in.
Yeah, it really is becoming that. Jared's not going to be a large part of this update because he's kind of just bowed out of the game. We talked a little bit about Cirie scolding him for not telling the information
I mean,
about
it was a
Ison.
good scolding.
And ever since, he's kind of just been like, okay, I'll just hang out with Blue then. And that's like he's barely playing the game anymore. He's spending all of his time with Blue. And Cirie is just doing all of the work. Not that he was contributing that much to begin with, but
I mean, I guess this is, well, with how it seems like things are going to go this week, I think that it's probably best for him to lay low a little bit just to not appear to be flashy. But yeah, he's letting mom do all the work to keep him safe in this house.
yeah. So Cam, he's gonna just go about the day. He's gonna start talking to people. He's gonna start considering his plans. He did have a funny conversation with Bowie like early in the morning, where he feels like he's working with Bowie. Of course, Bowie is actually secretly loyal to the Bye Bye Bitches, but nobody in the Bye Bye Bitches other than her thinks it's real anymore. And they all hate her and they think that she's playing them. And Izzy can't wait to tell Bowie someday, "Did you think that you ever fooled me for a second?" Meanwhile, she hasn't been fooling Izzy because she hasn't been trying to fool Izzy because she's actually loyal to them.
I feel a little bit sad for Bowie that they don't believe that she's a real DJ. And they're like, there's no way she's a real DJ. That was kind of a mini storyline for the most of the day. But when she was talking to Red, though, I felt that she's pretty good at being sincere. Like I think that like Red feels as though that she's with him. And so that was like probably the first time I saw a long extended kind of gamey talk with Bowie. So
Well,
at least she knows how to play.
Bowie is, is genuinely with Cam and Red because they're in the Legend 25 alliance.
Right.
And so she thinks that's like chill, like she thinks that's part of it, but that the Bye Bye Bitches are like the real deal.
Thing. Not the real. Just
but there's not like a better example of I think where Bowie stands in this game than this, and it's whispering. So hopefully this is going to be easy enough to hear. But Cam has a question for her.
How long after the Professors was formed did Ison come along?
I have no concept of time. Neither do we, Bowie. Neither do we.
Yeah, I mean, that's honestly, considering what happened at the start of this podcast, fair.
I mean, it's a good answer, though. I mean, I don't really remember. I don't even know if I could pull it out right now. If I was in the house, I would be able to, but I don't know if I could remember exactly how that all formed.
I just have no concept of time. So Cam's gonna start his HOH talks, and in doing so, I need to talk about Jag. I think that, like, I want to focus a little bit on Jag here before we go all the way through, because what the hell, Jag? When Cam won, I said, okay, listen, this is Jag's moment. He has to do something. Jag is in an alliance called the Seven Deadly Sins with himself, Blue, Matt, Izzy, Cirie, Felicia, and I forget. It's nonsense. And he also knows that Izzy, Cirie, Felicia are in another alliance, an 8-person alliance that includes Cam and Red. And he's like, okay, they made that alliance, right? Oh, Jared is the other person. I forgot. He's not in the game anymore, so it's easy to forget him. And so he knows that they have another alliance. He knows that they're aligned with the entire house. He knows that he is their scapegoat. He is the person being put up on the front lines to take the hit from Cam and Red right now, even though they are the ones playing the whole game. It's such a no-brainer to me that knowing that you are the target this week, that you will go home if you don't win the veto, that you just go to Cam and you say, hey, Cam, I heard you had an alliance with all of these people. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I heard that it's called Legend 25. Why do I know this? Because I'm also in an alliance with almost all of those people called the Seven Deadly Sins. They're playing everyone. What if we, instead of battling it out, fighting their fights, come together and strike at the real power in the game? Cam would be incredibly receptive to that. He wouldn't make the mistake of nominating Jag and Blue. He would just go straight for the top, and everything would be fine. But what does Jag do when Cam says, hey, I'm putting you on the block next to Blue. Hope you win the veto, bro. Jag says, you know, I'm glad you're being upfront with me about it.
I think the fact that he's been on the block so much and he's been I think he's scared to play the game because, you know, he started the first week with Riley and having, you know, thinking that he built something that was strong and that was going to get them through to the second half of the game. And then it was all completely dismantled by Heisem. And I think that he's just scared that anything that he tries to do is going to get him evicted. So he's hoping that, like, you know, if Cameron's saying, like, if you come through this week, we can work together next week. I think he's hoping that it's true. And he just doesn't want to play because he doesn't want to get in trouble again. I think he touched a hot stove. I get it, but
I'm just to continue my anger at Jag right now. I'm going to jump ahead just a little bit because Cam is, you know, again, at the beginning of the day, he was talking about Izzy. Izzy is another option for him, maybe a replacement nominee, maybe a backdoor target, who knows? But Jag, in his infinite wisdom, goes to Izzy after knowing he's going to be going on the block and says, hey, Izzy, thinking about picking you for the veto comp. You'd use the veto on me, right? And Izzy's like, yes. No, she won't. But yes. Jag is planning to pick Izzy to play in the veto for him.
Such match in under most circumstances. Don't take the one person you might be able to stay in the game aside.
What is he thinking?
Maybe he's just getting the temperature, like just seeing like what she would do with it, and he's not being serious.
It's wild to me. It's wild. Um,
Oh, yeah, Jag. Well, maybe hopefully he'll win, right? And then he'll,
he'd better hope he wins. He needs to either win the veto or win whatever this twist is because
that's true.
he
He's
he is
probably a
a goner.
contender. Do you think that people are going to be voting for him, knowing that he's in a bit of danger?
It depends on how the episode goes, I think. I don't know that the casual audience is looking at Jag enough to vote him in. Maybe
Even in that chicken suit?
the chicken soup barely was a part of the episode, luckily, or cluckily. um,
It's the first pun I've heard you say in a while, Taran.
I think the episode is going to be huge. Obviously, the online fan base is going to be voting a lot. Jag obviously needs it for the short term. I think obviously Corey's going to be. I think you've got Cirie as like an obvious one, and then you have like Felicia, Matt, a few other people that are like strong contenders, I think, for the casual audience. I think Corey and Jag are like vying for spots here. Obviously, Corey has like I think a bigger fan base at this point. But does voting end today? I thought it ended
It's Monday.
Monday.
Yeah, I think it's Monday.
Yeah, I think it ends Monday. Jag needs it now, but as we go through the day, I'll let you know that Corey needs it next week. So it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough, I think, for to get into one of those 4 spots. So that's where Jag is standing here. He's told he's gonna go up on the blog, and he basically does nothing.
Well, he does something. He does go through the permutations of like people playing for veto for him for like 10 hours. So
yeah,
he does all
wrong. Nobody will use the veto on him. But at least Corey or like America or whoever would throw it. But Izzy's gonna try and win because her life is on the line.
Yeah.
And then not use it because she wants to protect the people she actually cares about in the game.
Yeah, it's true.
Oh boy. In the meantime, Cam is gonna have conversations with America, Corey, and Matt all separately. But they are going to those conversations basically saying the same things, which is that we need to start looking at where the power is. We need to start, gathering the troops together and focusing our energy in the direction of Cirie and Izzy, because they're the ones running the show. And, once Jag is out, or maybe even this week, we should get a group together that looks something like Cam, Red, Bowie, Corey, America, Matt. And he pitches that group basically to all 3 of them, but not as explicitly until he talks to Matt. Now, this is where I start to yell at Cam because what the hell? How are you this bad at the game?
He's really, really not good. He's really, really not good. I mean, obviously, you want to keep some information to yourself in that way, and you want to gather information rather opposed to give out information. But I felt that he held his finger on a button for 14 hours, and the majority of these conversations, he's telling people that like he doesn't want to do anything, like he's going to put up 2 people that it's kind of like a house consensus, and then next week is when we're all going to come together, and we're going to have these 6 people that's going to be able to go after their 7 people, and I'm like, but you have the power now, and next week you won't have any power. Why wouldn't you try to chip away at it now?
For as much crap as I'm going to give Jag, I'm also going to give it to Cam, because if Cam had just spoken to Jag for more than 2 seconds and asked him for some information, can you give me anything? Then maybe Jag would have opened up to him in order to save his life. But instead, it was just a telling. It was just telling him, yeah, you're going up. because I've already got it all figured out. Because of course Cam always has it all figured out, and then nobody could possibly tell him any new information that could change his mind because he already knows everything because he's literally Cam Giesling. And so he can't figure out a single thing. He's not using his HOH at all to do anything other than tank his own game even further. And so he then tells Matt, the person he never could trust but still does, about all of this. And then guess what Matt does? He goes and tells Cirie everything.
Like everything. And Cirie's just sitting there like, yeah, thank you. Yeah, and just like taking it all in. I won't tell anybody. Yeah, no. And like, I actually am happy that Cirie has this link with Matt because like, I don't want her to get sideswiped, But it was such a miscalculation on Cameron's part. Like, why does he think that he could trust Matt?
Because he's been working on Matt for weeks. He's pulled Matt in. He thinks he's done what Cirie has actually done, which is
have people be loyal to them. And
yeah. So that's what Cam is doing. In Corey's conversation with Cam, Corey lets Cam know that the vote was flipping last week. And
dangerous.
That he's
so scary. Like, I'm just like, is he the right person to tell this to? If it gets back, you're going to be in so much trouble, Corey.
So what Corey does here is he tells, and this is something that he's been doing a lot. He tells Cam, "Hey, the vote was flipping. They were upset about you not packing." And Cam is like, "Izzy," and he's like, "Yeah, what I had to tell them was so on and so on and so forth." And then he later goes and tells Izzy, "Hey, I gotta warn you, Cam, he's not stupid. He knew something was going on, last week and the week before with Riley. He knew that the vote was maybe flipping. He's definitely going to be looking at you guys." And so that's kind of like, and Corey's later going to talk to the cameras and explain that this is his strategy, that he is going to drop those seeds of information and then try to cover it up by saying that the other person basically is already like knowing the stuff. And I think that'll work with Cam, because Cam will just take credit for knowing things. Ha, I knew that. I didn't need to be told. But obviously he is playing a very dangerous game, especially when it comes to Izzy and them, because they are already on to Corey and what he's got going on with Cam. So definitely dangerous.
Definitely dangerous territory. And like, I mean, it's obviously electric to watch, and you're just like, oh my god, he's just playing with fire so much, and so it's kind of fun. But for his game, I worry for him. Like, I was like, Corey, you're doing pretty well. Like, I see what you're trying to do with America and bringing all these people in, and that you do want to work with Cam, so you're bringing him some information, but you don't want to burn Cirie's bridge. Just smart.
Yep. So then Red's going to come back and talk to Cam, and Cam lets Red know that he's considering Izzy as the replacement nominee after he puts Jag and Blue on the block, or maybe even the target if they go that far. But Red is like, whoa, that's not what I meant. We shouldn't target Izzy. We shouldn't be looking inward and targeting our alliance. And Cam's like, we got to start at some point. Like, this is not going to last. And Red's like, I don't know, man. Like, we need to stay loyal. Like, I mean, maybe I'm biased because our name is so good. Legend 25 is just like the best. And no, that's not a joke. That's what he actually said.
How is it the best?
Listen, I know a Red's method. He's a TikTok star.
A million names that could be better than that one. I mean, and also it's quite wild to me that Red knows that Izzy hasn't really liked him for most of the game so far. They have power for the first time in this game. His closest ally for the last 2 weeks has been on the block and had flips where it was potentially going to be going home. And you have an opportunity to take out someone that would likely vote you out. It's just quite wild that they want to be loyal still when this is the first time they've had any power.
Yeah. So while I'm complaining that Cameron's not going far enough, Red is complaining that he's going too far. And he says that the thing is that we need to bring Cirie into the loop in all of this. Like, Cirie is the person that I trust the most in this house after you, Cam.
That's another thing. I was like, sorry, you trust Cirie second? Cirie, I don't even know if Cirie knows who you are.
This Cirie, who actively wants Red gone, kind of hates his guts, has never trusted him, had always reluctantly brought him into an alliance, was very annoyed when he approached her about needing to form the Legend 25. She is the one that he trusts the second most in the house. And when he says the second most in the house, I think he means the most in the house. Because he's saying that to Cam, but we're going to get to it later. It's bad.
The mist.
Yeah. All right. Well, they have a little bit of an argument. Cam says, let's just table this for now, but I'm still definitely considering the Izzy thing. So we get to the nominations, and this is when we'll bring up the graphic. Cam does, in fact, nominate Jag and Blue for eviction, which means his hands are tied at this point. Bad nominations. He should have, again, spoken to Jag and Blue more, specifically Jag, to understand and maybe get some information out of him. Hey, maybe like, why are you targeting me? Like, what's going on? Can we figure out what's happening? Are we being played for fools? Yes, you are. And so with Jag and Blue on the block, they're later going to talk about this. The For Real Alliance will control the eviction. There is no getting Izzy out this week for Cam at this point. He can try to backdoor her, but it will not work unless he can pull Corey and America, which he currently cannot. Doesn't mean things can't change, especially given the nature of the relationship that currently exists between Corey, Izzy, and Cirie. But as things stand, he is now locked into one of Jag or Blue leaving, which puts him in incredible danger next week. In fact, pretty much the entire house will be targeting him. So, not great.
I mean, maybe this is what he wants deep down. Like, I'm very confused by what Cameron is doing in the game and why he thinks it's so intelligent. Just even the way that he was having all the different conversations with everybody, I'm like, he really believes what he's saying, and I don't understand why. Is it? I actually don't understand why. I could probably speculate, but I don't get it.
Yeah. So this is when Jag talks to Izzy about using the veto on him. She pretends she will, but of course talks to Cirie and Mimi, and they agree they're absolutely going to leave Jag up there and send Jag home. But if Jag comes down, they will have to send Blue out. They're assuming that one of them will probably go up, but they're fine with sending Blue out of the game. They're just worried that like Jared or Izzy will go up, and then they'd have to rely on both Corey and America, and they no longer trust Corey, and they've never trusted America. And so their goal for the week is to really try and make sure that they lock in those two votes. And in the meantime, they're going to be trashing them in every private conversation they have.
Well, I also don't understand, like, why does Miss Felicia like have to come at America so strongly? Like, being just like, are you with us? Like a little tact, Miss Felicia. You know, like, because America doesn't feel like Felicia trusts her at all, and I wouldn't either if someone came at me being like, "Are you with us?" Like, I'd be like, "Yeah, I think." Like, why don't you think I am? And yeah, I just wish that her tact was a little bit better, because I'm just so nervous for them. They're just landmines everywhere, and I'm just like, okay, just be nice and you'll get your way. But I don't know. It might not happen, you know?
Yeah. So with that in mind, trying to keep them on board, Izzy goes to America and tries to make her feel as comfortable as possible. She actually tells her about the Legend 25 Alliance, and apologizes for how Felicia approached her multiple times at this point, because every time Felicia interacts with America, it's very like, you with us?
Yes.
So In the meantime, Red is going to come back to Cam. He's come up with an idea. Okay, we need a replacement nominee if one of them comes down. I don't think we should put Izzy on the block. I think that's a mistake. We should not be targeting one of our own. You could just put me up if you needed to. Just put me up on the block. That way, we don't piss anybody off. We don't make the Alliance upset with us or distrust us. And then we'll just send home whoever is next to me.
Like, the fact that he wouldn't even think about the like, if you're up on the block and people they'll just vote you out just because
What
it's
the
so
hell? What is wrong with these people?
I mean, like, actually imagine though, like, like I held on for 14 hours. I almost broke a record on the pressure cooker, and I got my own ally, but my only ally voted out of the game. I mean, it would be sweet justice, wouldn't it?
To be clear, Red would go. If he touches the
Of
block,
course he
he's
would
gone.
go against anybody. It's so bad. It's so dumb. Just to punish him.
Okay. Put a pin in that for now. Izzy's gonna talk to Corey. She had talked to Red. There's a whole thing where she talks to Red about, am I going to be going up? Red tries to reassure her. Then Red goes back to Cam and says somebody told Izzy. They're trying to figure out how that happened. Well, it's because you told Matt. And that's a whole thing, but it doesn't really matter. Izzy then comes back to Corey. She's concerned about herself going up on the block. He thinks that it might be Jared, but he thinks it could also be her. They talk about this thing. And it's a minor thing. It could become bigger, but it's a minor thing for now. But I do think it's illustrative of something that I'm going to get to when I make that point. Mimi, when discussing the deal that was made with Cam, said that from her perspective, she was promised that she would not be an initial nominee, but that she theoretically could be a replacement nominee. Now, Corey says, oh, that's not how Cam describes it. From Cam's description, he promised her safety for the week. There's a little bit of a discrepancy between what the deal is. And so when discussing who might be the replacement nominee, is it going to be Jared? Is it going to be Izzy? Man, wouldn't it be great if it were Mimi? Mimi is kind of the perfect person to put up because putting up Mimi doesn't piss people off as much. But he made that deal with Mimi, except from her perspective, it's just for the initial noms. And Corey says, this might sound terrible, but in the interest of protecting you and Jared, is there a world where we leak this to Cameron that Mimi thinks the deal was just for initial noms? And Izzy was like, okay, yeah, I could see that. But would it, how do I approach it? And he says, you could just ask for clarification. And so you're not going up and being like, hey, by the way, because that might be sketchy. So she's like, okay, that's interesting. So they have that as part of a plan that they're considering. The conversation continues though. He says that this is when he says Cam was suspecting that the vote was flipping. By the way, I need to warn you about that. Izzy asks again, and this is a trap. Because Corey he said, listen, he's definitely looking at you guys. I think he's going to come for you next. We definitely need to get rid of Cam. And Izzy says, well, should we get rid of Cam or Red first? And this is a trap because she's already worried and has expressed that worry that Corey is trying to protect Cam and push Red before Cam, even though Cam is more dangerous to them. And Corey falls right into the trap. Well, yeah, I do still think Red should go first, even though Cam is considering nominating you right now and just won this HOH. This is a mistake.
I mean,
there's no reason to do it. If anything, because you want to keep Cam, you should be pushing Red to stay, because you have there's neither of them are leaving this week. It's not the nominations just happened. The veto hasn't even happened yet. We're far away from Thursday. These people, so much changes. There's no point in even convincing them right now, because by the time they win HOH and actually put them on the block, and then the Thursday after that, they will still be debating which one should go on that Thursday. you do not need to be making these arguments so far ahead of time. You're just showing your hand to them. It's a
Mhm.
big mistake.
Definitely a big mistake. And, you know, if you're talking to someone that's in danger, like, what lie? Like, just be like, I mean, I would definitely want Cameron out of here. Like, he's coming for you. Like, he's a threat to our alliance, like our stability, our safety. Like, he's got to go. Even if you don't mean it, I don't understand. He can lie about so many things, but he can't lie about that in the face of somebody that's like in danger of one of the people that you want to protect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Corey.
Yeah. I mean, he says later he knows he's a flawed player, and this is one of those flaws I think here. He says his goal for the week is to make sure America is locked in with them and votes with them because that's going to be very important because the For Real Alliance does control this vote as long as they have America. It's basically just an excuse for him to continue to get closer to his true final two at this point, America, which is also a little see through, but. Izzy is going to go back to Cirie and tell her about the Mimi idea. Do you think I should go to Cam and just like try to remind him or let him know that Mimi thinks the deal is just for initial noms and that would free up Mimi for a replacement nominee? Cirie says, no, you shouldn't do that. She says, well, I would be careful about it. I would just like ask, like, oh, what was that deal? Just trying to clarify. And Cirie says, no, even if you pull that off, he can use that to twist, he can twist that against you later. And I point this out because to me, it's an illustration of Cirie's social game. Obviously, social game is something that's difficult to quantify a lot of the time. And you don't often get somebody who's very good at the social game actively giving advice to other people for how to play it. But this was one of those moments. And it makes like it should be a reminder that Cirie doesn't mess up in conversations. Cirie never gives anybody any ammunition that they can use against her in a solid way like that, just like in subtle ways. Like she knows exactly what to say and how to say those things to people, and that's why people like Red, for no reason, think that Cirie is the person that they can trust the most because she's that good and that careful in her interactions with every single person that she talks to. That's why Matt has literally at this point abandoned Jag and Blue to work with Cirie more than anyone else. That's why she has Izzy locked in with her. It's why even Corey now has been swayed, has been snowed by Cirie. We'll talk a little bit about that later. Like he's the person most aware of what she's capable of, and yet at this point is now on the receiving end of being tricked by her because she's onto him and he is not onto her. This is why Cirie is so good, and it's harder to see. It's harder to like, you know, the strategy, the pieces on the board, all of that's easy for us to see because we see all of it there. We can envision the strategy. In fact, we often have a better view of that than the players in the house do. And so we
Mhm.
judge the players based on how well they can accurately map out those things based on what we're able to see. But the social game is much more difficult. It's impossible to judge on a game like Survivor because it's so edited that you don't see anything. But when you're actually watching the feeds, you know, you can actually start to see these things. But even then, unless you are actively watching every conversation, every small interaction, both strategic and not, uh, you know, it's hard to know exactly how she's doing it. But it's little things like this, I think, that are important to point out to explain to people that are like, poof, I guess Cirie's just not good because they're seeing the thing that they can see. And it's like, that's not up to their standards. But it's the thing that they're not seeing that is just so overwhelmingly powerful from Cirie's end. And it's why she's doing so well. And yes, of course, she has some advantages coming in, some big ones. But there's a reason why she has this reputation coming in the first place. And there's a reason why all of these really bad players are going to her and messing up with her and not anyone else.
Absolutely. I mean, it's really fascinating to watch, but it's also, I think, an obvious move to not do that for Izzy because, like, they just turned on their own in High Sim, and I think that one thing that they need to do for sure is make their alliances believe that they're not disloyal and that they're willing to throw one of their own up at the wolves to keep that, I guess, core four secure. And so you don't want to be throwing someone else that you're working with in, up for a nomination potentially. And so it's definitely a bad idea, but the fact that, how Cirie shut it down, I'm like, yeah, she's smart.
Yes. So they continue the conversation, and a little bit later, they talk about needing to make sure America is solid. And this is one of those moments, just to give the other end of the spectrum here. Funny moment. I tweeted about this one. Cirie was like, "Okay, I'll have to go to America and be like, okay, our 6 is so super solid. We decide what happens here this week. Like our 6, I feel really confident about our 6." And Izzy goes, "Oh no, 7. Keep saying 7. It's not. It's 7." And Cirie's like, "Oh shit. Okay, no. Did I say 7 or 6? 7? Okay. I feel really confident about our 7. I'm really confident that we're gonna control the votes this week."
It's like,
Good stuff. Funny stuff. Can't keep track of which one is a 6, which one is a 7.
I don't even
They
know if they're right or wrong. I didn't bother counting. I'm just like, sure.
they also talk about Corey and how he is still protecting Cam. He fell into that trap. That he's obviously trying to pull America now. And they talk again about how when Izzy talked to him, she feels like he said he was going to make a move at 7. He didn't, but that's how Izzy took it. And Cirie says, well, he's not going to make it to 7. Corey will need to go right after Red and Cam. The order is Red, Cam, or Cam, Red, Corey. He is way up on the hit list now, above America even. He is very close to being targeted. And considering the events later in the night, it might be even sooner than that. So Corey quickly falling out of favor here.
I do have faith though that Corey will be able to he's charming. He's people I think like him and like they find him kind of like the little brother role that he's wanted to play. I think that he has endeared himself to people. So he has time to get himself out of this mess if he figures out that he's in it.
If the key there is if that he's in it. So more on that in just a sec. As I said, Blue and Jared, just to touch on them briefly, they've been like cuddling the
Schmoopy,
whole day.
schmoopy, schmoopy.
It's Blue is upset that she's nominated. She's gonna cry a little bit to Jared. She is then later upset because she's like, it's just not fair. The thing that really gets me is that I don't think that I should leave before some people in this game, like America, would really grind her gears if America lasted longer than her, which as per usual for Blue, came out of the blue. It's just weird, but that's what they're doing all day. Jared is just, again, he's not in the game anymore. And this is one of the things that I want to talk about in regard to Corey. Jared was always the biggest Corey advocate, but he's just taken a break from the game. And this is part of why I think Izzy and Cirie have been allowed to spiral on Corey. And this spiral happens to be right. Mine is Jared. They're actually making correct reads.
Maybe he actually brings the confusion into their game plan. Maybe because he doesn't bring all the information, like Cirie is kind of irritated by being like, "Are you telling me 2 days later about something that could affect my decision making right now?" And so maybe having him in the game is making them make some poor decisions. Um, Also, though, I don't understand why he can't see that his mom is right about getting his head in the game and not having his head in this relationship with Blue. Like, I don't even think he realizes how much is kind of falling apart around him because he's focused on this particular relationship.
I think like a thing that I was thinking about today, based on how like just involved he was with Blue, is like I think it's easy for us to forget about just how important a thing like a new relationship in this house is to somebody. Like, this guy was in a 7-year relationship that he has decided to blow up in order to engage in this new one. Like, that's so far beyond the game, so much more important than like what he's doing on a TV show. Like, in that light, for me, it makes a little more sense that like his focus is starting to like shift over to it. That like, hey, this is like a thing that is huge for me right now.
Mm.
And, mom's taking care of everything else. So, this is like, it's pretty important to him, I think.
Well, he does even address later on in the day about the fact that like they're gonna probably want to put us up on the block next to each other, and I'm like, yeah, that's what happens when you're in an obvious showmance. Like they want to break you guys up. But yeah, I can see from your perspective if like he must be feeling that this is like a monumental moment and relationship that he wants to explore, and he's just can't help it. So
Yeah.
I guess I get it. It's
So
almost it's like $750,000. I'm like, can you just table it? But
yeah.
not 25 anymore.
Let's take the pin out of the Red situation because it's finally time to really talk about the rest of Red, because he's going to talk to Cirie before they go to bed. I talked about how he trusts Cirie a lot. And so what he's going to do is he's going to tell Cirie everything about Cam and how Cam is looking at Cirie and Izzy and how Cam is trying to pull a group together and that they're really starting to do some things, but he really doesn't want Cam to do it. And he's worried that Cam is going to put Izzy on the block, but he hopes that he won't because she'd just be a pawn. And he wouldn't want that to happen because he wants the Legend 25 alliance to work. And so he suggested that he go up on the block as a pawn, but he doesn't think that Cam will do it because it doesn't really make sense for Cam to do it. But he just wants Cirie to know all of this because the only reason he thinks Cam is doing any of this is because Corey is telling them that everyone else in the house is going after them. And Matt said it too. And so he wants Cirie to know all of this because he really trusts Cirie and he wants to work with Cirie and he wants Cirie to do well in this game. And, he hopes that she understands that, she's the person he trusts the most, her and Cam and Matt. He also trusts Matt a lot. But that's kind of how he's feeling in this game. And Cirie is like, oh, thanks.
Taran, it's okay. Everybody's taking their game. It's giving Cirie more power. I mean, she doesn't have to say a word, and people are just like, blah, 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 blah. Here's my game. How did she do it?
Yeah. Somehow Red managed to be the worst player of the day.
Of the day? No, he's not the worst of the day, is he?
Oh yeah. This is absurd.
Well, yeah, no, I guess
the irony is that this might actually save Red for the short term.
No, because she's gonna be like, oh, he's giving me information. Maybe he could be my new camera or Corey.
Right, because he's so bad. Because this is how the game works sometimes. If you're bad enough, you will sometimes take the baddest player award, and not in the good way.
Not threat.
And that you'll be taken further because of it. But he is competing for that award, and he is definitely.
Who are the other contenders?
Jag and Cam,
Jag.
and Blue.
Is that it?
I mean, plenty of them, but yeah, this is obviously a lot. We don't really get what Cirie's response is or will be. I'm not sure how she's going to take this information. It's more damning information for Corey, not only in the sense that he is more exposed in this, but also in the sense that if this actually disarms Red in Cirie's mind, then instead of Red and Cam being the next two targets, it's going to be Corey and Cam, because Corey and Cam are the two problems, which means Corey and Cam might be on the block next week. And between Corey and Cam, who's actually more dangerous? It's Corey. He's got more connections, more allies, more secrets, more threatening.
Break up him in America. Like, oh boy. He's in hot water.
Yeah, we will see. We will see here because I think paying attention to what Cirie does today here on day 25 is going to be very important in terms of Corey's ongoing safety.
I mean, actually very excited about what's going to go on today because I need to know who the veto pick is. I need to know who wins the veto because like everything kind of hinges on this right now, and I do want to see how that all plays out. So today's going to be a pretty eventful day, I would say, especially with to see how Corey navigates all of this.
So yeah, we'll see. The veto obviously is going to be huge here. Red is actually proposing, he's trying to get Corey on the block as the person who is the replacement nominee because that would be the best pawn for them. But whether that can work well with Cirie backing it up, who knows at this point? But that's what kind of Red is trying to do. So we have a couple more things before we finish out the night, though. One is that, as I said, Jag was trying to get Izzy to use the veto on him, saying that he would pick her in the veto competition. He is going to have Matt is his second choice. Then he talks to Corey and America. They talk about the unreliables, and he asks if they'd be willing to use the veto on him. And Corey and America say yes. They are also lying, though, of course. They would not use the veto on him if they won, or at least Corey certainly wouldn't. But Corey was his third choice. America is fourth in line for the throne of veto. After this conversation, America privately goes to Jag and says, listen, you sure you want to pick Izzy for the veto comp?
Some sense.
It's like, yeah, I think that's the best choice for me. I think she would use it on me. I think there's a lot of incentive for her to do that. And America's like, are you sure, though? Because don't you think that, like, maybe Izzy, fearing for her own safety, is maybe not going to use the veto on you? Like, don't you think she maybe has like other priorities? Maybe that maybe you don't want to do that. And Jag's like, nah, it's fine. I think Izzy's the choice for me. And in this moment, I'm like, America is now getting a taste of what Corey was experiencing with her when he was trying to warn her about Jag and his loyalties without being able to actually properly give all the information. And now she's going through the exact same thing with Jag, where she's trying to explain to him that Izzy will not use the veto on him, but can't explain all of the reasons why she knows that. And Jag refuses to believe her.
And what's interesting is like, okay, you can refuse to believe in the moment, but like, wouldn't it be something that crosses your mind? Like, what if, like, just even the what if, like, you know what, you're right though. Like, if maybe I misread this whole situation, what if she decides not to use this? Like, who do I know for sure 100% would is kind of what he needs to be thinking about. And the fact that she's putting some doubt, it's wild to me that he's not even considering the doubt. Like, just consider it.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be emphatically being like, no, she's not good and she's going to use it on me 100%. Like, you actually don't know that. So what America's saying should be considered, I would think.
Yeah, he even says, I mean, I can go talk to her again and just try and make sure. And America's like, do not tell her I said anything.
Oh my gosh.
And that's when America is like, all right, pulling the ripcord, bailing out of this one. And it's so funny because it was literally a 1-for-1 mirror of when Corey was trying to do the same thing for America with Jag. And she was like, well, I'll go talk to Jag about it. He was like, no.
I wonder if she recognizes that.
Yeah. So Corey and America do have a bunch of conversations late into the night. They're spending a lot of time together, especially toward the night. But through those many conversations, he lets her know that he has a brother.
Beat you, Zach.
And he even actually tells her about during the first vote. He said,
"Beat you, Zach."
Lets her know about his brother Zach and how he was on Survivor. She returns the favor and tells him a secret that she actually went to Brown. She's an Ivy Leaguer. And so they have consummated their relationship with secret sharing.
I mean, all the AmeriCorey fans, stands are going to be eating this up. They spent a lot of time together. There was a lot of flirting time that was happening between them as well. And so, I mean, I do like them together. And I think that's going to be beneficial for their bond, but I don't know if it's going to be helpful for how everybody perceives the two of them.
Yeah, it's definitely dangerous. He also eventually tells her finally about the Seven Deadly Sins alliance. She's like, "Oh, well, screw Jack and Blue then." He's like, "Well, the thing is that he hasn't told them about us." And she's like, "Oh, the unreliables." He thinks that Jag is just really poorly trying to play the middle. And she says, "Well, I mean, I'm getting concerned about all of these different alliances that Cirie and Izzy are in." I mean, he's like, "Well, luckily, I think ours is like the most real one."
Is that the real? I don't remember which one's which.
For real,
For
yes.
real, for real.
And this is like, Corey, really? I mean, it was for a moment, but like, come on. He says that their plan this week needs to be to vote out one of Jag or Blue, whichever one of them is still there. Ideally, Blue leaves, but they're probably gonna have to vote out Jag if he stays on the block, and he knows she's gonna hate that. But like, they need to maintain their position in the middle. The problem with that plan is that they no longer have a position in the middle.
Yeah, they're in dangerous territory right now. That's kind of like why I mean, I want this game to move faster, but at the same time, obviously, I'm enjoying it. But I'm like, I need to get to Thursday. I need to see who's gonna win Head of Household already. Like, it's such a slow burn, and I'm just very anxious as to what's gonna go down.
So they have long conversations,
Just like
plenty more
hours.
there, but this is a packed day. There is a brief interaction, just because the AmeriCoreys are really going to want me to say this, but Izzy does ask America at one point, "Do you have a crush on Corey?" And America says, "Yeah, a little bit, yeah." Just as like a fun thing in the house, but I don't think Corey reciprocates. And so lots of caveats there, but she does say she has a crush.
Ooh, kissy kissy. It's coming, guys. You're gonna get your AmeriCorey kiss soon, I'm sure.
Eh, Let's not make any promises. Corey has a long conversation to the cameras late into the night. He said he'd be happy with Blue leaving this week. He hopes Jag wins the veto, but he doesn't think he can swing keeping Jag over Blue if he doesn't. He can't tell if Jag is just a really bad player or a good one in a bad situation. And I think that we finally discovered that it's the former.
Brutal. I think he just hasn't had good people to play with. Like it just started off bad. He has a bad foundation, and so
I cannot give him any leeway considering that he had all the pieces he needed to be totally fine this week and didn't even think about using them.
I think though that he's loyal and he's nervous. He's not cutthroat, and I think that maybe he needs a little bit more cutthroat energy and a little bit more selfishness that he wants to save himself. But I think he might be too kind for this game.
So here's how it looks to me with this week. Obviously, Corey, discussing this is in a lot of trouble moving forward, but there is an out here for him, which is that if Jag wins the veto, which he kind of is hoping for, which means like if Jag would just pick somebody like Corey who would gladly throw it. Cam has actually talked about how he doesn't want to win the veto. He's happy to name a replacement nominee. Doesn't want to win 2 comps in a row. So if Cam is also kind of throwing it, that gives Jag a pretty decent chance to win if he's packing the comp with people who will throw it. Except he's picking literally one of the only people who has a desperate stake in winning it and not using it on him. And that's the person he wants to pick the most, despite being warned against it.
Do you think that Jared would have been a better decision? Like, let's pick Jared to play.
Jared's the only one worse than Izzy. Although considering his performance in the pressure cooker, maybe not. So if Jag wins it, then probably like Izzy or someone goes, probably Izzy goes on the block next to Blue, and they probably send Blue out. And that is like a reasonable thing that could happen. It's actually pretty massive for Corey if that happens. If Blue gets sent out,
Because
Blue
all
would
his
have been
pieces.
somebody who would have been very difficult to take out of the game because nobody is targeting Blue and Jared. And everyone's targeting Blue and Jag, but Jag is obviously the target. So Jag winning, Blue going out. It's a very niche scenario, but it snipes Blue out of the game, which forces Jared to come back to Corey because at this point, Jared literally has nobody in the game other than Corey and his mom and what she's got going over there. But like, he hasn't played the game with anybody else, and he'd go back to vouching for Corey probably, and things would be in a much better situation there. And then it also would allow for this like unreliables, relationship to continue to develop. And both Corey and America have the information to pull Jag at any time by saying that we know about all of your stuff, dude. So keeping Jag in the game, Jag remains a target in front of him for other people potentially, and potentially a number for him. While taking Blue out of the game, removing one of the numbers that they would easily be able to stay in on, and again would keep Jared, back in the fold with him, and he doesn't actually have to make any bold moves to do this. So Jag winning the veto would be pretty big. Other than that, he would need to figure out what's going on and actively just take a shot against the other lines and flip his vote and vote out like Izzy or whoever goes up on the block, which is also not completely impossible for him there. I think they're telling me something's happening on the feeds right now.
What's happening on the feeds?
I don't know.
Oh my! Oh, do I have it still going? Oh no, I have it paused. What are they doing?
But that's sort of how I see things. Oh wow, you're kidding.
Oh my god!
Cam told Corey that he's the replacement.
You're lying.
So that whole thing worked. What did Corey say?
What? No.
All right. Well, listen, we're gonna have to do that
tomorrow.
Update tomorrow.
Taran, no.
I don't think Corey would allow that to happen. I think he would sooner rat some things out and stuff. I think the feeds went down for veto draw, so there's nothing to further glean from that. But
okay.
Listen, I don't see, I haven't seen any of that. This is just chat information. But again, stay tuned for tomorrow's update. We'll see. It sounds like so other people are saying it might have been a joke. So
these jokes not funny. That's a Corey joke, and that's not funny at all.
Do not take that information. It's not information. Take it with a massive grain of salt. Do not take that as solid stuff here. Okay. So that's how I see things, right? Jag winning, probably very good for Corey, assuming he doesn't go up on the block. And I really don't think he would. I think that he would sooner expose all kinds of information before actually going up. He talks a little bit when he's talking to the cameras. He talks a little bit about how he's covering himself, how he, gives information and then says it comes from that person to cover the fact that he gave the information. He hopes the America thing isn't becoming a problem. It kind of is. He says between Jared and America, he would sooner bring America. He says, Jared's kind of a dick. I like him, but he can be kind of a dick. Fair. He says he wishes that with him in America that there was less like flirting. That he wishes that like all of the fake flirty stuff, like he'd prefer that they could just like actually just chill and be friends instead of having to do all the fake flirty stuff. He's kind of annoyed by it.
Okay, I mean, I guess it's because he's 21, but like, just play it. This is your friendship. Like, just have a flirty friendship. I get it. He probably just wants to just be more focused on
It's a little
game.
much. I would agree. It's a little much. Like he's trying to talk serious game sometimes, and she's just like, always bringing it back to the flirty stuff. I could see why he might feel that way.
But I don't know. It's such an easy thing to navigate. I would think, but maybe I don't know. Like someone being like, oh, like I don't know. I guess maybe because he's not interested in her in that way, it's becoming annoying, and she just wants it to be like platonic. Let's just be friends and have game talk. But maybe she doesn't know how to be friends with a guy without flirting. Like, I don't know.
I mean, he says later, like, he's not sure where their relationship outside of the house would even stand, because it's like kind of a weird start. Like, can they just actually be friends outside of this? Like, he's not even like sure. So he says that I'm surprised at some of Cirie's reads in the game. And he says, listen, she's more of a legend in Survivor than I'll ever dream to be in Big Brother. But I mean, does she really think that like all those people were in the Alliance? Like, what is happening?
Oh boy. I mean, it's interesting his perception of things, but and the fact that she has him clocked right now, which is also like, you don't know exactly what's going on in Cirie's mind, but it's interesting to see his perspective here, and I wonder if that will change in the coming days.
I think one of the interesting things about Corey's current position is that he is making the same mistake that I think a lot of people watching the show right now are.
Right.
In that he's seeing the
flip-flopping.
faults in Cirie's reads and the faults in Cirie's like messiness at times. And it's starting to like, he's trying to merge the idea of like legend Cirie with the Cirie that he's seeing here. And he's having trouble figuring out like what makes her so good, because she obviously is. He doesn't deny that, but
Can't see it.
if she's this messy, like where does that come in? And that's the stuff again that's hard to see. And I think that he is making the mistake of thinking that the messy reads means that she's not as dangerous as he might have thought she was. Except as he is saying that, she is gathering all kinds of info on him, comparing notes, and he's moving way up on her target list as she pulls in minion after minion. And like a necromancer pulling up the corpses of players who no longer are playing for themselves. She is like building an army against him.
And he's just like, yeah, I don't know if she's that dangerous, you know. She might be called a legend, but I don't really see her legend status. And she's like, I'm like, he'll learn probably the hard way.
He apologizes to the audience. He says, listen, I'm sorry for stopping the Heisen flip. I get on an entertainment level. I apologize. I'm just trying to figure things out here. You know, I really don't think it was good for me, but I get that you're probably annoyed with me for that. And I'm sorry. And he's spot on. There were people annoyed with him about that.
I mean, I just wanted to see it happen, but I think that this is probably better for the better. But
he does say he threw the pressure cooker comp. He says, hopefully you believe me. You know, that's I get it if you don't. He says, like, not to say that I could have won the thing, but I did throw it. And he says it's I've been throwing comps. It's a weird thing to say because it's not like I definitely would have won if I hadn't thrown, but I have been throwing them. I don't think I'm in a spot where I want to win right now. But that's
maybe this veto.
And this is, again, it's like, I get it. Throwing comps, always a fun thing. I advocate against it a lot of the time. For a good reason. I think he's worried, like, who do I put up? Red and Jag? Like, Red and Cam? Like, I can't put certain people up. And I get that. I get that it makes a lot of sense in your mind. But the thing about winning HOH is that you can change the paradigm as HOH. You have the power to shift things in a different way. You might think, well, if I won, I can't put anyone up. I've made too many deals. I have too many relationships. There's too many expectations on me. But when you become HOH, you can shift all of that
Yeah,
and
shuffle
move
it
it
around.
somewhere else into a position that's a little more beneficial for you. And so,
And you get more information so you can make better decisions.
mhm.
Like, that's, like, the best part about I think about HOH is, like, I love information, and so having more of it is, I think, really, really attractive.
And I get it. There are definitely times where throwing works, especially if you're throwing to an ally. But you have to understand also that like you might be in a good spot right now, and throwing the HOH means you don't have to potentially ruin that good spot. But in the same way that if you win HOH, you can shift things, another person can do the same. They can win HOH and shift things, and now all of a sudden your good spot is gone because they shifted things because they have the power to do that if they play their cards right or wrong. And so just letting the HOH go into the hands of whoever just because you're good with them is not always the play. In fact, I think most of the time it's not. You know, I get the idea behind it, and some of the best players to ever play are big advocates of throwing competitions, but that's because they're the best players to ever play, and they're capable of shifting things without that power. Corey himself admits that is not him. He is a flawed player, and so you have to be very careful when throwing competitions, in my opinion. I've held that opinion for a while.
And I'm like, I'm in agreement with it. I don't know if I'd be a player that would be winning everything, but if I have the opportunity to win, chances are I'm going to take it because, like I said, I like information and I do like power. So I probably would do it just because I would want things to go my way, and I wouldn't necessarily want to the whole time just be malleable and kind of like moving from side to side and like just trying to avoid bullets. Sometimes I want to do the aiming. So.
Yeah, and the same goes for America, who threw this to Cam, right? I think that there's a lot of potential value there. If somehow they get through this week where Jag wins the veto and Izzy goes up and they're able to take out Blue or Izzy, like that's great. And they didn't even have to do anything about it. And that's good. That's good for them, right? It's a great outcome. You would say throwing the competition was the right idea if that happens. But that requires Jag winning the veto. If Jag doesn't win the veto, then America throwing this competition lost her one of her most valuable pieces on the board, which isn't to say that Jag is all that valuable to her right now, but she doesn't have a lot else going on in the house. There's not a lot of other value that is there. And Jag losing Jag is like of anyone in the house, one of the worst people for her to lose right now. And she could have prevented it by just winning the comp, and she feels confident that she could have. And so
And
it's like
also though, with her being the final two, like she's still looked at as a threat. So she has like she lasted almost 14 hours. Like people know that she's capable of winning these things. And if she has been, she might have been throwing, since the beginning because she was really strong in the first episode. But like she's just kind of losing. Like she's in a whatever good position because she's not going to be nominated. But like people are going to see her as a threat more, and she's not really tied in with anybody that's going to protect her, and she's going to lose her ally likely. It's just, yeah, I think it was a bad decision just because she was tired or she wanted him to see his family.
she just didn't. She felt the same as Corey. Like, who am I going to nominate? Am I really going to nominate Red and Cam? Like, what am I going to do? Am I going to go straight after Cirie and Izzy right now? Like,
Maybe. Yeah.
but it's again, it's like I think the flaw is that they're looking at it from the perspective of pre HOH. They're looking at it from the perspective of I'm not in power. What would I do with power? And instead, you have to look at it from the perspective of
I'm
I am in power. What do I do with this with everyone coming to me begging for my leave or their leave with me? Like, that's my rant about that. So he talks about how he thinks he's doing well, but he is concerned about all the contradictory things that he's saying coming back at him, which is already happening. He says that Cirie and Izzy can't betray him right now because he has way too much dirt on them. And this is another thing that I'm going to just quickly go back on. I agree. They shouldn't go against Corey right now because he has way too much dirt on him. But there are two faults in that line of reasoning. One, have you seen Cirie and Izzy? They'll do anything. He's literally complaining about how they would literally keep Heisem after backdooring him. Of course, they're willing to go against you when you have information on them. They're not going to think in the same way that you're thinking like that. Number two, you have information on them that's valuable right now. But if they decide they want to go against you, they can start moving pieces around. And by the time you realize they've gone against you, the board looks a lot different than you thought it was, and your information is worthless. And that's what's currently happening. His information is getting less and less valuable by the second. And the longer he waits to rat them out, the less of an impact it will actually have when he does.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think that he sees what's going on, and like, cause it's a weird pacing of the game, like because like things happen in like swells, so it's like nomination, and then it dissipates, and then the veto, like, and so I think that he's not realizing that like he kind of has to kind of keep his foot on the gas, but then I don't know, he has to just figure out how to time his information giving better and like use it a little bit better, because he's not really realizing that people are also moving around him while he's having these, well, camera talks even.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And so he has, I understand, I'm a very flawed player. He says he feels good about Matt, but the problem is that makes him one of the 45 people that feel good about Matt, but he's just a great dude. And so he's in a tough spot there. Now, it is again worth noting that when Matt told Cirie about the group that Cam is trying to form, he did actually vouch for Corey. He said Corey's not interested in joining that group. And so, Corey has clearly put in some very good work with Matt, to the point where, like, just a few days ago, Matt was saying Corey's the head of the snake. We can't trust Corey. Riley told me not to trust Corey. He is now like vouching for Corey, saying he's not a part of this. Don't blame Corey for it. Of course, then when Red talks about it, Red fully blames Corey for everything. So that's a bit contradictory. Again, we're waiting to see what Cirie makes of it, but worth noting.
Yeah, I think Cirie is going to believe Red in this situation, because I think that she's just going to feel that Corey and Matt have bonded to a certain degree, and I think that she's going to feel that Red's giving him more accurate information.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think. We'll see.
It's definitely possible. So he says, also, what is wrong with my alliance? Like,
which one?
Mr. Athlete Eye of the Tiger Jared was out in 15 minutes. Jared was in the pressure cooker 15 minutes longer than my mom was. Like, you are all as close to have been playing in the pressure cooker as Jared was. Like, he was there for 15 minutes. So he jokes about that. And he talks about how Felicia is somebody he would really like to get out of the game because she's going to be really tough to take out later. And he doesn't have much of a relationship with her. And he doesn't know it yet, but she's very anti-Corey because he shut down the heist and flip.
I mean, I do agree with them that Felicia is going to get very far into the game, because there's going to be more important pieces to be getting out. But yeah, he still just he can't see everything that's going on, and he's not. Who can he have to be an informant for him? Like, he needs to get more information.
It was Jared. Jared was the one that was keeping.
Yeah.
Like, Jared was the key. When we talk about what happened with Corey, he made a mistake trusting Izzy with endgame information, not realizing that Izzy's not playing self-interestedly and instead playing for Cirie and Jared to win. And number two, with Jared taking a back seat in the game, focusing on blue, he's lost his biggest advocate and source of information when it comes to Cirie and Izzy. And that's been hugely detrimental to his game. And then, like, number three, he's been focusing a lot of time and effort on America. And that's kind of like been pulling him away. And he's been a little sloppy with how he's been protecting Cam. And so all of those things are combining to like unleash the power of Izzy and Cirie's paranoia against him. And for as much as we talk about them being paranoid, their paranoia is finally paying off in this regard, because it is focusing them onto Corey, which has always been their biggest threat to going far in the game. So I do still think, though, that the biggest thing is just losing the Jared connection, because if he was talking with Jared and Jared was talking with Cirie and Izzy, he'd be getting information from Jared about what Cirie and Izzy are saying about him. And hey, Jared would be like, hey, you need to do this because they're worried about this. And Jared would be going to them and saying, no, Corey's chill. He's fine. But he's lost that. So, he's fallen out.
Well, I wish you could just be like, hey, Jared, can you give me some more information here so I can have some better reads myself?
Yeah. All right. Anything else you wanted to bring up, Chantele?
I don't think so. I mean, I'm sure I have like 30 other conversations that we didn't talk about, but I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah.
We didn't even talk about Cam's head of household room reveal in the letter.
He did cry.
Cried.
Yes. So that's about what we have for you. As I said, I mean, I'm still now 4 weeks in, like having to do these updates that are still going like an hour and a half. And granted, I went a little deep into like the strategy stuff, but like it's we're not even to a point where I can like just dive deep into a single conversation because
No,
there's too
I
much
mean,
happening in order to help you understand the strategic layout of the game and how things are moving. I'm still having to go a little like higher level on it, whereas we're doing summaries of conversations more so than reenactments and fun stuff like that. But listen, that's the season so far. We'll see if it ever slows down. This should be an interesting week, especially if somebody like Jag wins the veto, or if just the veto is used at all. We could see some interesting stuff here. We'll watch out for a potential Corey nomination this week, if not next. And then, of course, we have this whole twist thing to deal with eventually as well. So
right. Are you who are you voting for this twist?
I don't vote for people.
Who would
I
you
protest vote.
who would
I
you want to be the 4 people?
on like here's the thing. Cirie's gonna be there. I don't want Cirie to get this power because I think she's good enough without it. And I really we don't need to put an all-time fan favorite in the house and then have an America vote
Mhm.
where you get an extra special power to keep yourself extra special safe.
Yeah.
And so I don't want Cirie to get it, but obviously she's gonna be in there. I think that like Corey should be in there. I think strategically that makes the most amount of sense. I think that another wild card would be fun to have in there, like maybe even I don't know. It doesn't really matter apart from that. I just honestly I want somebody in there that's not going to use it. Um,
Right.
I just want somebody to win it that's not going to use it. So maybe that is Cirie, but like then people are going to complain even more. Maybe it's somebody else. I don't know. I don't really care. I don't like the twist.
It will not work. We know that their twists usually don't work, and so we'll be fine, Taran, I'm sure.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say this. If you're voting for like somebody like Jag in the hopes that it like helps, the opposition or whatever, I think Corey will probably need it more. I mean, not more in the sense that like Jag doesn't need it. He certainly needs it. But Jag staying is not going to necessarily be that bad for Cirie. So we'll see. But I honestly don't even listen to that. Don't listen to me about any of this. I don't care. I don't care what happens in this clip.
Yeah, you'll deal.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. That's what I have for you. You can find me doing this tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern to update you on everything that happens today on the Big Brother 25 live feeds. There's we're gonna do a Q&A today as well later. We didn't do one yesterday because of the pressure cooker, so there will be one today. It'll be live, it'll be fun, and then you'll be able to watch it if you're a patron after the fact. And tomorrow we have another episode, and that's I'll be live on Twitch watching with that. I did stream for 12 hours
I was
last
impressed.
night at some point.
I hung out
For
for a bit.
yeah, for the pressure cooker. If you want to check out the VOD of that, or just hang out and watch episodes with me, you can find me over there on Twitch. That's what I've got going on. Chantele, what about you?
Me, what do I have going on? Just I have a YouTube channel, Reality Realness with 3 S's, where I've been doing a lot of the Challenge USA 2 content, live recaps, which have been really fun. It's been a really great season so far. So if you want to hang out with me there, or find me on Instagram at ShanFranFran, where I have all my social links.
All right.
Ding.
Well, thank you all so much again for joining us here today, and I will see all of you next time.